So what I'm presenting today is the Shambala Private Game Reserve Gatehouse, which CADCON were involved with towards the end of last year. So the client basically came to us, and their existing gatehouse had been burned down in a fire a couple of years ago, and they basically wanted to rebuild it, but wanted to rebuild it with a different flair. So the game reserve itself consists of a number of chalets, one of them being a Zulu camp type chalet, and he wanted to replicate the Zulu camp chalets into his main gatehouse. So effectively, what we have here is a gatehouse in the shape of a Zulu hut, and steel was chosen purely because of the versatility of the steel. So some of the challenges we faced, as you can imagine, is rolling these tubes into a certain radius. So the picture on the left kind of shows you the different radii that we basically had to build. So we had the various arches, we had the main rafters, and we had a number of concentric cylindrical rings that ultimately what this was built for was to have the thatch itself attached to the steel structure. So as you can see here, it is quite wide. So this is for vehicle entrance. So one of the reasons why we couldn't be using wood is that wood would have presented itself with some certain challenges in terms of putting poles up right in the middle of where the cars needed to be driving through. So that's why steel was chosen, purely because it has a lot more of a free span than what traditional wood structures that you'd see in thatch buildings. So that's why, one of the reasons why steel was chosen. So the architects involved was Paragon Architects. The main contractor was Incresco Developments. The client itself was Shambala Private Game Reserve. The engineer on the job was Pure Consulting, and obviously we employed a certain number of subbies or subcontractors under us. So the detailing was done by 3D Con, the painting was done by DRAM, the steel erection was done by Gauteng structural engineers, structural erectors, and obviously ourselves as CADCON, we fabricated everything in the workshop. So as I mentioned, the brief from the architect was to basically have something which emulated a Zulu hut, and I think that's basically what's been achieved if you look at the various renderings that he provided us with. So as you can see, this is the main entrance, the main roof section itself is all made out of steel, and then these two side outings on the left and right of the main building is also made out of steel, obviously all covered with thatch. So the project overall was completed towards the end of last year. Total project cost was about 2 million. It was only tube sections that we used, so mainly circular hollows. There were a couple of rectangular hollow sections used as well, but primarily circular hollow sections that we used. For us, it's an architectural. I mean, it's a very small project for us, but what we enjoy about challenges like this is getting involved in bespoke type projects where the architects select us, and the engineer, more importantly, is very happy with coming to someone like CADCON, because they know that we can produce a quality product, and we go the extra mile to make sure that in the end the project itself is something we and our clients can all be proud of. Obviously, the sector that's involved here is the hospitality sector. So just in terms of a motivation for the project itself, so it is a private game reserve. It's 10,000 hectares of out in the bushveld. The name Shambala itself, it translates from Tibetan language. It's paradise on earth, and that's really what we're looking at here. It is a high-end safari destination, and what better way to enter the actual reserve itself than go through the gatehouse, which is a spectacular gatehouse. So it is, as I mentioned, it's in the shape of a Zulu hut to emulate the Zulu camp that they have inside as one of the accommodation units. It is clear span for vehicle access, so that's why, as I mentioned previously, the wooden structure just wouldn't work because there'd be poles in the way of the vehicles coming in through to the game reserve. And then one of the challenges we had during fabrication was to make sure that all the radius sections, accurately lined up. And for that reason, you'll see a couple of photographs that I've got lined up as well. We did the trial assembly in the workshop. So it is a massive structure to trial assemble in the workshop. But fortunately, we have the headroom and we have the space in the workshop to be able to do it. And that basically facilitates the installation. It facilitates the installation and make sure that the outcome was a perfect fit on site. So we basically worked for a maximum of 5 days on site. Had you tried to fabricate and weld all of this on site, you would have been the better part of a month. So we basically trial assemble on site with the view of making sure that everything fitted, and then we broke it down into piecemeal transportable sections, maximum transportable sections, and took it up, and it all came together in the end. So just again, a couple of additional photographs from the inside. The steelwork itself was about 700,000. So as I mentioned, it's not a very big project for us. Only about 9 tons, and the profiles primarily consisting of CHS sections. So as I mentioned, the engineer, we worked very closely with the engineer on this one. So Pure Consulting, they basically recommended us to get involved in this project because it is bespoke, it is something out of the ordinary, and and we like to get involved in things like this. So we worked together with them in terms of detailing various connections to make sure that it facilitated the installation on site and allowed for a certain flexibility in the connections to make sure that everything on site fitted. So fabrication, we did the fabrication ourselves. You can see that these are some of the early photographs that we have of basically building the ring on top first, and then all the rafters coming emulating from the ring. So the two photographs on the left and right basically is the early stage of building this monstrosity in the workshop. And as you can see, it all starts to come together in these photographs. By doing this, as I mentioned, yes, it kind of takes up a bit of time in the workshop and it takes up a lot of space in the workshop. But at the end of the day, we know that when it goes to site, it's going to fit. So that's taking something from a model, translating it into drawings, and making sure that the drawings we fabricate according to the drawings. There's always a bit of room to maneuver, and there's tolerances that are allowed in fabrication. So by doing this, we basically eliminated all of those potential tripping hazards that we would have effectively had on site if we hadn't done this trial assembly. So there's the completed gatehouse on the left and on the right hand side. So as you can see, there's the main hut in the middle, and then what looks like a dinosaur spines on the left and right of that, and that basically makes up the whole project. So as I mentioned, Gauteng Steel Erectors or Structural Erectors did the installation for us on site. We worked very closely with them and on a number of projects, and by bringing them into the workshop, they got a bit of better understanding as to how complex this installation really is going to be. And they worked with us to make sure that we spliced in the right positions. We broke this up into the right sections to make it easier on site to do the installation. So as you can see on the left-hand side, when I mentioned we try and transport in maximum transportable loads, that's exactly what we did here to again make it as easy as possible to do the installation on site. So with the help of a temporary tower crane, or sorry, a temporary tower in the middle, and obviously with a crane to pick it up. We put the various quadrants together, and ultimately, everything fitted. There was no issues. And then after the steel erection had been done, then obviously we climb in there with painting and making sure that everything is painted correctly. And then from thereafter, we hand over to the guy coming in and doing the thatch. And you can see on the photograph on the left-hand side, he's now starting to put in his battens and wrapping up some of the tubes so that it looks like a wooden feature, but in actual fact, it's made out of steel. So I've mentioned some of the challenges and that we had, and the solutions we've come up with. So the major challenge really was around making sure that this thing on site fitted properly. So hence the reason for pre-assembling in the workshop and trial fitting and everything, and then breaking it up into manageable sections. So that was one of the challenges we had. And then secondly, on site, try and speed up the installation. We had a couple of erection aids that helped us with the installation, such as the tower in the middle, and obviously the craneage that we needed to build the structure. So as I mentioned, the benefits of steel in this application, it's primarily it's around the free space required. We wanted to have the look of a Zulu hut, and the free space that you get by using steel is effectively why the steel was chosen. It is a vehicular entrance, so obviously the entrance can't be obstructed, and it's a spectacular gatehouse to be driving through. I mean, you're going into a private game reserve when you get welcomed by a gatehouse like that straight off the highway or off the road, and you see the beauty of what's being created. Quality assurance, sustainability, and efficiency. Obviously, we have our quality systems in place, and that was all implemented. Welds were tested for integrity, so no issues with that. And then obviously the paint system. It is, although it's not down at the coast, it is semi-exposed up in the Waterberg region. So we needed to make sure that a paint system that was used was sufficient for the requirements of the project. And I think what we're particularly proud of on this project here is that we were put forward by the architect. We were put forward by the architect and the engineers to do this work, purely because they know that CADCON stands out above most of the others in terms of being able to build these bespoke type projects, and that's really what the testament for us really was a very happy client in the end. So much so that they've actually asked us to get involved with another part of the game reserve. And that's currently what we're busy with at the moment.